Hey folks, John Cantera, the Double Broker Bounty Hunter here with yet another installment of our Transportation Fraud Prevention series. This is part 7, talking about prevention of double brokering. And this is not about defenses. This is more about how to prepare yourself before we ever start moving freight in order to mitigate your risk of becoming a victim of double brokering, cargo theft, et cetera, et cetera. Because frankly, prevention is the name of the game. And as sophisticated as these scammers get, as well funded as they get, we are constantly updating our recommendations on how to prevent things from happening. So you will see our entire series get updated every few months with the latest and greatest information that's available. So please stay tuned, and you can see all the stuff that we have available to offer. But first, a word from our sponsor, AccuBid Pro.
Do you know your cost per mile? Have you been hitting your profit margins? Do you struggle with bidding in a way that is both profitable and competitive? Would it be worth it to have all this information right in front of you? By calculating your cost per mile, AccuBid Pro helps you stay profitable in an industry still struggling to recover. In order to calculate your cost per mile, AccuBid Pro asks you questions about your business expenses. Our goal is to help you understand what you need to keep operating in order to keep up with the game and maintain your business. Enter your origin and destination, and we show you what you should bid based on your personal cost per mile in order to be profitable, even including a more detailed breakdown of each bid. Download the app today and get your 30-day free trial of AccuBid Pro, available on the App Store and Google Play. Bid smarter, bid faster, bid better with AccuBid Pro.
So let's go ahead and get into what we need to do for prevention. And this is going to be a fairly shorter presentation, only a few slides on this one. Yay, no real death by PowerPoint. I know. But the bottom line is that everyone in this industry needs to expect fraud. And all three main players within the industry, we're talking carriers, including their dispatchers, brokers, and shippers, all have a role to play in trying to mitigate fraud when it comes to freight. So let's look at the carriers first. Carriers, you have to train your dispatchers or whoever it is that's booking loads for you to recognize the signs of fraudulent cargo. We've covered a lot of this before in past parts. Make sure they understand what they're looking for. If they are out on the spot market, on the load boards, what is a scam load look like? What does a scam rate confirmation look like? What does a scam BOL look like? Train them extensively. And this is all about a matter of procedure and training. If you can train your dispatchers to operate in an effective way, then you mitigate your risk as a carrier of ever booking a load that turns out to be a scam. That is your ultimate goal. Your dispatcher is going to be your front line of defense, whether it's your driver who dispatches himself or you as an owner dispatch your fleet, whatever. Whoever it is that's booking the loads, they have to know what they're looking for. I would also strongly recommend that all carriers equip their drivers with a stamp. So I don't know about you, but when I handwrite something, it's like a doctor writing a prescription. I can't read it to save my life. Even my own handwriting looks horrible. Okay, so give them a stamp. And that stamp needs to have very specific information: the carrier company name, the MC number, and the driver's printed name. If a carrier is utilizing this one tool alone, a good broker who's matching paperwork before they send it to accounts payable is going to immediately notice when there's a discrepancy. So please train your drivers to use a stamp and then sign those BOLs, every copy. Take pictures of the cargo before and after loading. It's good to do that. One, not only because it's good to prove that you're in possession of the cargo, but it's also good to prove the condition of the cargo. In fact, when I go to a warehouse as a driver and they don't allow me on the dock, and then they turn around and they seal my truck before I pull away, I pull up about 3 feet, climb up to the back, tell the guy in the door, hey, you see this? And point to the seal. Yeah. I break it in front of him. Can you get me another seal? I need to inspect the cargo to make sure it's not going to shift. And then I go and I make sure the cargo is properly secured, because I'll be perfectly honest, I don't trust the guys in the warehouse to secure my cargo for me. And since anything that happens in transit, I'm going to get blamed for as a driver, I'm going to make sure that cargo is properly secured. And if they've got a problem with it back there on the dock, then I'll just back up and they can take the cargo right back off. Okay. I'm sorry that I am not going to be held accountable for somebody else's screw up. So teach your drivers, train them properly to make sure that they are protecting the cargo the best way they can. Plus looking at the cargo, you need to do that anyway, so you can match the information on the BOL. Are the markings matching whatever the markings say on the BOL? Does the pallet count match? Because if it doesn't, you need to say something. You need to go back to the shipping clerk. You need to have them fix the BOL. If your carrier name is not on there, take it back, have them add it. If the pallet count's wrong, take it back, have them put the right pallet count, whatever. It needs to be right because it is a legal document. And if you suspect any fraud going on at any portion of all this, get help from somebody you trust, so that you are on the right page. I can tell you now, I get at least a dozen calls a week from carriers saying, hey, can you just look at this BOL and tell me whether or not I've got a scam load? Sure, no problem. Hell, I do that for free in most cases. Brokers, your turn. Some of the things that you should do to help mitigate your risk. 1, require by contract that your customers record every single carrier that shows up for the pickup. Put it in your contract. Make sure that you require them to give you the BOLs every day when a carrier picks up, copies of them, that they give you the driver's name, phone number, all that good stuff. A good shipper is going to record that information anyway, because if anything goes wrong, you want to know who came in and out of that warehouse. That's a standard security issue. Do many 3PLs ignore that step? Yes, they do. Train them to follow that step. And if you do that, you now have a starting point when you have a problem when it comes to your own investigation. They need to understand, your customers and the warehouses, they need to understand the trends of fraud in the industry for their own protection. You're not doing it to be a dick. You're doing it to protect them and their cargo, i.e. their money. And your customers will appreciate you for that. Most loads have a pickup number, and everyone considers that security. I'm sorry. Multi-factor authentication. We do it on computer systems all the time these days. I would do it with a driver. Okay. I would give 2 codes to the shipper. You give 1 to the carrier when they book the load, and you give the last one when they arrive and they verify they are where they're at. So having the multi-factor authentication is always a good thing at trying to help secure cargo. Okay, because if you're giving the dispatcher for what turns out to be a scammer 1 code, and then you have the driver call in when they show up at the pickup and give them a 2nd code, there's your multi-factor authentication. That will better secure your cargo and make sure the right people have it, especially if your shipper doesn't have the time to go and look at the side of the truck. It's just an added security measure. I would also request copies of the BOLs daily. That gives you something to match and compare BOLs to when the carrier submits POD. You take the shipper's version and you match them up. You look at the carrier's signatures. Are they the same? If they're different, you better be asking questions and not pay anybody until those questions are resolved. Okay, so it's important that you maintain that level of communication with your customers. I would also make sure that you prepare your BOLs with the booked carrier's name in the carrier section. You do not want to put your own name as the brokerage in the carrier section. That can lead to liability issues for you in the long run if the cargo gets stolen, damaged because of an accident, or whatever. Because if you don't have the carrier's name listed on the BOL and you submit a claim to the carrier's insurance company, the carrier's insurance company is very likely to reject any damage claim because they're not listed on the BOL. Gee whiz. And then your brokerage is stuck with footing the bill. Fill the documentation out properly. Make sure the carrier's name is in the carrier slot, and you as the brokerage, your name is in the third party slot. And again, if you suspect fraud, seek assistance. If you're in a bigger brokerage, you probably have a fraud department, or your compliance department doubles in dealing with fraud. Talk to them. They can help walk you through this process. If you are a small brokerage, a 1 or 2 man brokerage, and you need help, call me. I'm happy to help you. Okay, we can talk through quick things, and I don't typically charge in quick conversations. So by all means, it's better to have help and seek help than it is to let things lie and pay the wrong person, because then you may be paying somebody twice. You never know. And I said before, this is a 3-pronged thing. Shippers have a role in this too. This is what you need to send to your shippers right here. Okay, shippers, you need to keep accurate records of the drivers, MC numbers, phone numbers, etc., of anyone that walks through your warehouse. And that should be a standard security procedure. Fraud is everywhere. Shrink is everywhere. And if you're a 3PL, your customer expects you to protect their cargo. You need to take the proper steps. So make sure you have those records. Make sure that you have the driver's signed BOLs, not just your copy, but all 3 copies, the receiver copy, the driver copy. Make sure they sign all of them before they hand you back the shipper copy. I would also make sure you send copies of the BOL and logs to your customers and your freight brokers daily. Again, they want to reconcile that against the receiving paperwork to make sure the right people are getting paid. Paying the wrong person means somebody has to pay that bill twice. And by the way, warehouses, the case can be made legally that because you released the cargo to the wrong person, that you're the one who may have to pay that bill. So protect your own liability. Scammers are very sophisticated, and I have yet to come across any system out there that brokers utilize that a scammer cannot defeat. Okay, so it is important that we, all 3 of us, carriers, brokers, and shippers, work together, because that is the only way that we are all but guaranteed to stop these scammers. You know, it's not the broker's fault or the carrier's fault when loads get scammed. These guys are very sophisticated. Unless they're actually in on it, it's really not their fault. So don't immediately think, oh, I've got a bad broker. That's not really the case. The case is you probably didn't provide enough information, and we all need to be working together to protect each other. Cooperation is absolutely key. Think of it like baseball. Scammers are at bat. Okay, and the rest of us, dispatchers, carriers, drivers, brokers, agents, insurance types, we're all in the field. If we don't work together, these guys are going to score on us all day long, every day. We have to work together, and that is the only way we're going to stop these guys and get them off the damn plate. If you ever need help in these types of situations, please feel free to call me, the Double Broker Bounty Hunter, at email me at jcantera, vigilanttransport.com. Phone number and website are on the screen. We are here to help. We can help shippers devise security procedures to mitigate fraud. We can help brokers devise better procedures to mitigate fraud on their end. We help carriers come up with procedures to mitigate fraud. It is about working together. So please be good to each other. Stay safe out there. And whatever you do, don't let scammers take you for a ride.